All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a text that, well, it really pushes the limits of what we think of as reality, logic, and even language itself. We are about to step into a world that's just built on these beautiful, totally mind-bending paradoxes.
So let's kick things off with a question that basically unlocks this entire labyrinth. I mean, on the surface, it sounds simple enough, right? But it's really designed to make you question our most basic assumptions. Like, what does it even mean for something to exist?
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start in a library of absences, then we'll check out some, well, impossible tools. After that, we'll play a game where losing is actually winning, then tackle the ultimate paradox of language, and finally, we'll try to measure the very gaps between the words.
All right, first stop. We're heading into a place that's defined not by what it has, but by everything it's missing. Yeah, a place built entirely on pure potential. So the text introduces this just incredible concept. Imagine a library, but not for books that have been written. No, this one is for every book that could have been. It's this amazing repository for pure potential. And get this, the librarian doesn't organize the books by author or anything normal like that. He arranges the collection based on the amount of sadness each title makes you feel. And this catalog, it's not just some passive list of titles, it's an active system. It basically works as a grammar for a language that hasn't even been invented yet. And here's the cool part. Every single reader who imagines a book just from reading its title is, in a way, helping to write it. It's interactive. Now, this whole thing isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. The story is actually grounded through the narrator's grandfather. And he is this wonderfully peculiar character. He builds mechanical birds that sing arias from operas that, you guessed it, were never actually composed. And that number is just fascinating, isn't it? The grandfather claimed that 1,746 was the exact number of pins you needed to encode something impossible, silence itself. It's really the perfect metaphor for the library, which, of course, is all about cataloging the unwritten. Okay, so from the unwritten, we're now shifting to the unmeasurable. If the grandfather was all about exploring absence, well, the narrator's father, he tried to quantify it. So the father made rulers, but these weren't your standard rulers for measuring, a piece of wood. Nope, these were instruments for measuring abstract concepts. Think about that. Tools for putting some kind of order on feelings and ideas. And this just brilliantly connects everything back to the library, doesn't it? The father actually creates a tool to quantify the exact feeling the librarian used to organize his catalog. It's suggesting that even the most subjective emotion, like sadness, could somehow be measured. Okay, I absolutely love this one. It proposes that sincerity isn't some quality a statement just has on its own. Instead, it's a relationship, a balance or an imbalance between different statements. That's a completely different way to think about truthfulness, right? And maybe it's even closer to how we actually figure it out in our own conversations. So in this world, no two ideas are ever really separate. There's always a connection, a kind of space between them. But it's not a straight line. This ruler suggests that you need a curved, flexible kind of logic to trace the path from one thought to the next, no matter how far apart they might seem. All right, this whole attempt to systematize the abstract, it doesn't just stop with tools. The text keeps exploring logic, this time through games. Games with rules that are specifically designed to just shatter our normal understanding of winning and losing. So, take the game of Clun. The whole point of the game is to create paradoxes. But it's this little add-on, the codicil, that just completely turns the idea of victory on its head. If you lose 3 times in a row, you retroactively become the winner of all 3 games. Just like that, consistent failure becomes the ultimate success. How wild is that? And then there's the ultimate move, the Borges gambit. This move doesn't win you the game. Oh no, it transcends it. By playing a card that shows a picture of the game itself, you create an infinite loop. The game is just suspended, forever in progress, but played by absolutely no one. So you see where this is all going, right? All of these ideas, the unwritten books, those impossible rulers, the paradoxical games, they're all pointing towards one single massive theme, the nature of language itself.
And what a powerful idea this is. The text argues that language doesn't just describe the world around us, it actively constructs our reality, a lot of the time using what it calls useful lies. It's a tool that's, well, fundamentally limited. It's always in some way failing to truly capture the very thing it's trying to express. And this brings us to what might be the librarian's greatest challenge ever. One day, a brand new title shows up in his catalog of unwritten books, and this title seems to violate the entire premise of the library itself. This just creates a perfect logical knot. Look, for the book to be in the catalog, step 1, it has to be unwritten, right? But step 2, its title says you're reading it right now. So step 3, does you're reading it mean you're also writing it? And if that's true, then step 4, it was already written, which means it shouldn't be in the catalog in the first place. It's an impossible loop where language just folds in on itself. Okay, so after navigating this incredible labyrinth of ideas, what's the big takeaway? What's the final proposition here? Well, it seems both the library and those weird rulers are pointing to the same conclusion, meaning it isn't something you find inside things themselves. It's found in the connections, in the spaces, and the relationships between them. Remember the sincerity ruler? It doesn't measure one statement. It measures the link between two of them. And this quote just illustrates that central theme perfectly. The text is suggesting that what we leave out, the unwritten book, the thought we can't quite put into words, the silent space between musical notes, that stuff is often way more significant than what we actually say out loud. The silence, it seems, can hold just as much meaning as the sound. And so we're left with a final question to chew on. If you had to build a ruler, not for wood, but for something like joy, or trust, or inspiration, what would it even look like? What are the beautiful, unmeasurable things in your own world? And how do you make sense of the gaps between them?